everyone! Welcome again to another episode of What to Pin in April. We are so thrilled to have you. So glad you were able to make it. And as you are going through, please feel free to drop in any boards that you're working on, any pins that have really caught your eye this month. We want to see what you're up to and what you're doing. And so my name is Melissa Megginson, and I'm the marketing manager here at Tailwind. If you've been with us in the past, you probably are wondering where the British guy is. We're not going to have any British accents today.
You made a baby.
He did. He is on paternity leave.
So I'm subbing in for David today. My name is Kevin. I think I've been on here once or twice before. So I work enterprise customer success here at Tailwind. So you guys have written in before. I may have responded to you. If you are a TPTer, you may have seen or met me at a TPT conference before. But yeah, I make it around.
Yeah, I'm relying heavily on you for the education section, so I hope you're prepared.
Very.
Okay, so just to explain a little bit about how this whole thing works. We're going to be going through 7 boards, it looks like. And that's not all of the boards that we've pinned these trends to. So how it works is you go to the Pinterest board, you scroll down and you look for the March pin, and that's the start of April. So it goes reverse chronologically from there. So the ones towards the bottom are from the beginning of the month. The ones at the end of the month are towards, or end of the board, or toward top of the board, or the end of the month. That's way too confusing.
You done this before? No. I'm just kidding.
Usually David explains this. So it's really easy for you to see the trends going through the month. And what we did was looked at those pins that were pinned around this time last year and the most popular repinned pins. And so just because they were pinned this time last year doesn't necessarily mean that they were repinned super quickly, but it does mean that they eventually gained traction. And that's why you should be looking at those pins rather than the ones that started getting repins, because you want to know what to put forth right now to get that traction later.
Yep.
All right, and so we have a blog post. So you can go check that out. It is in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and click there, and you can see all of the boards here. You can click through and check them out and start exploring. But we are first going to get started with DIY and craft trends. Anything that jumped out to you?
Yeah, there were I guess this is probably pretty normal for the DIY and crafts. Again, sorry, I'm not usually on these, so some of the trends that happen over time, I might miss out on some of that, but lots of kids and educational-oriented stuff in here. Definitely like a lot of stuff. Like, I remember doing that in Sunday school or elementary school. There's a lot of that. Right off the bat, there's this patriotic pin right there. Patriotic if you're from the United States, of course. So
or French. Or,
So we're about April would be 3 months before July, and so as probably most of you know, it's you get a head start on Pinterest, right? You want to get out in front of those holidays and events. Christmas, pinners aren't putting together their gifts board on December 20th. They're doing that months before. And spoiler alert, holiday and event category, which we're going to be looking at here in just a little bit. Also, a lot of 4th of July pins in there. So you'll see that. We'll see that a little bit later too.
Yeah, I'm sort of scrolling through looking. I know there was another one in here, but one thing that jumped out to me was how bright the colors are.
Very springy.
Very springy.
Yeah.
So many more primary. If you go back to the beginning of when we did this, it was a lot more muted and a lot more, focused on the Christmas, wintertime colors. But now it's just sort of like spring is puking at you.
Yeah, that unicorn poop is probably the brightest unicorn poop I've ever seen.
Yes, it's very impressive that the colors don't run together. And so another thing that jumped out was these kid-oriented ones. I think that's because, moms and dads are preparing to have their kids in their house for the entire summer. And it's sort of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep these kids occupied? Hey, you know,
Make them a
they
pillow
gotta do
bed
that.
and just put them to sleep on
Yes.
it. And get some
After
quiet time.
they play with some giant dice
Yeah.
and make some water bottle wind spirals. Yeah. Yeah, and there's also a lot of sewing, but
There's a lot of sewing in here.
it's a lot. The clothing is very classic. The crafts are very easy.
Mhm.
It's sort of, you know, if you're a DIY blogger, make sure that it's going to be something that people can create indefinitely.
Yep.
So a zipper pouch would be great.
And that zipper pouch one, that was an interesting one. I actually, I was a little. So this zipper pouch one's a really good example. Not a great example, but a really good example of how you can take maybe old images you already have, like maybe a horizontal image that just isn't appropriate for Pinterest, and
Yes.
turning it into a vertical image. So in this instance, they took the same picture and stacked it 3 times. That's why I would call it a good example, but not a great example. It would be better if those were 3 slightly different shots, different angles on the craft. Even if they had just had one horizontal image, and then they put the basic zipper pouch tutorial on top, have the one horizontal image, and then maybe right below that branding for the website. Even that would be vertical enough without copying the image 3 times.
Right.
But you see that a lot. You see, and that's really good for any kind of craft or product photo. If you can get shots of it from multiple angles or in progress,
Yeah.
that's a great way to get your pins to be vertical. Like right here, this envelope clutch. Like here it is open, and here it is kind of the same angle, but 2 different shots, horizontal images, but kind of turned into a vertical pin.
And a lot of these things are, you know, things you can make to make your life better. And I think that's a real place for products to succeed, because they can show, you know, something with a DIY using their products that's making their life better. So if it's, you know, this mason jar company,
Yeah,
they could use that.
That's awesome. I use my couch for that. That would be great if I had a jar instead.
Make it a little easier.
Yeah.
Or even Ford could put out a pin like this and have a bunch of Ford keys hanging up there. And so it's just getting a little bit of branding in front of people. Okay. Coming over here to look at the questions that we have so far. So thank you guys for joining in and watching live. We're trying a new thing because we don't have David here, so I'm looking for everyone. So we have a lot of people in here. It's really exciting. And Kim pointed out that Memorial Day is not far away either. And that's a patriotic holiday. So that
That's
could
true,
be
yeah.
another, you know, stars and stripes, red, white, and blue type of thing that we're going to be seeing. And Melissa asks, what do you guys use to go live with the screen sharing option? I use a product called OBS, Open Broadcast System. It's free. It's really easy to use. There's a bunch of tutorials out there.
It's great.
It's awesome. I
Yep.
would highly recommend it.
It's probably the most used streaming tool that streamers out there far and wide use, whether it's Facebook Live or other streaming platforms.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's very easy. All right, and so if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and move on to education. We got to scroll down here to the March pin so we can go chronologically.
Again, these are really bright and really colorful. They all pop. That's one thing you see in a lot of educational pins. A lot of people are taking pictures of these, or they've got their product pins. There'll be images of just black and white printouts. Just honestly, they're a little bit duller, right? So like there's one. First time, but first let me take a selfie. If it's really engaging, if it's really easy to read the text like this one is, if it's really clever, they can still do really well. But you'll see in general as we scroll through here, the ones that do well are generally going to be vertical pins. They're going to be bright. They're going to pop really nicely.
Well, and even this one here, it's mostly black and white with the products, a little bit of color on the clocks, but it has this nice text overlay that's bright.
It's the text overlay, that really makes that one for sure.
Yeah.
And the composition's just good, right? Like a lot of these, you can tell like the picture was snapped with the phone and maybe not cleaned up, but that's just a nice bright white. There aren't a lot of weird shadows in there. It just is a really tight image.
Right, definitely agree. And there's so many, the primary colors, again, are so big. And it's also going more nature focused, even if they aren't, like, obviously these aren't real flowers, but because it's springtime and flowers are popping up and people are starting to garden and it's springtime, so it's good to bring that into the classroom.
Yeah, there were actually a lot of pins like that. Like, there was a fractions flower somewhere. I don't know if we passed it already or not, but that was another.
Down here. Yep.
Yeah, there's the fraction flowers. There's the apples right above. There's a lot of spring in here.
Yeah, and a ton of DIY too, which is great that those two categories overlap because you can get twice the exposure by having DIY and education. And you also, for TPT sellers, it seems like the big thing that people want is making school fun. So I would be much more interested in learning how to spell making if it was using Lego blocks or all these different...
Most kids would be more interested in Lego blocks than learning. So yeah, working that into the curriculum is great. And there's just a lot of really, really creative examples of that. Even earlier when we saw the puzzles, right? Putting a puzzle together, or at least, they're not completing a puzzle, but you're sort of associating learning with an activity they already really enjoy. Yeah,
and I know like with schools, especially in Oklahoma right now, they're having a hard time with funding. And so this DIY, easy, fun things are going to do well because teachers are looking for ways to bring in the attention of their students while still teaching them something. And the more they can do on their own, the better. Which is where Teachers Pay Teachers, I think, makes a big difference because there's a resource out there. And
it's virtually infinite in terms of the amount of content on there and the great stuff you can find. And a lot of this, I'm sure more than half of this is from Teachers Pay Teachers users.
Well, Teachers Pay Teachers, or I'm pretty sure this blog here, What I Have Learned Teaching, is a Teacher Pay Teachers blog. So when you click through, it's a blog post that explains everything, but then you can link to the products, which is a great way to do it. Okay. So we'll move on to food now, which is one that's a little hard to find seasonal trends in, I have to say.
Well, you say that, but you opened it right up and there was bunny rabbit pancakes right there.
That's very true.
So Easter is coming up. If we haven't passed it yet, right? It wasn't an early Easter this year. I think it's still coming. I love that pin. I think that is absolutely fantastic.
Somehow I missed it when I was going through this. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yep.
The colors, for some reason, it felt like there was a lot more yellow. Like just scrolling quickly, it says yellow oranges that really pop out and really sort of make things look delicious. Maybe I just really like bananas and curry. I don't know.
It is, yeah. There's absolutely a lot of yellow in here. It's... I don't know. Yeah, there was the one seasonal image down there. I would say otherwise, when I was scrolling through this, the one thing I thought was like, okay, everybody has clearly given up their New Year's resolutions at this point. Like, it is just like all like cakes and calories and ranch, and it all looks amazing. And I think I got up to, I was preparing for this earlier. I think I got up to eat twice while looking through this food board.
Just makes you hungry, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But almost all of these pins are just great examples of how you should handle food pins, right? Which is, you've got an in-process shot, you've got a finished product shot. Lots of times the finished product shot will be right on top, like that Crock-Pot Kitchen there. Right. That I guess that one has two finished shots, but
and there's sometimes, let's see if we can find one. Yeah, so the baked banana chips, here's the before,
exactly.
Here's the after. That's really awesome.
Yep.
Melissa says she's hungry too. That's the danger with this board. So if you guys have any food pins that you're just loving right now, please drop them in the feed. We'd love to see them. We'd love to get some ideas for what to make next. Another thing that was a little bit seasonal that jumped out to me was the use of more summertime fruits. So the peaches, there's a lot of berries, there's more, here, all these berries here.
Yeah, there's some blueberries below. That looks almost like a kind of a patriotic dish. Like it could be a holidays and events pin as well. I think we actually see several food pins coming up in that next board.
And summer berry cheesecake.
Yep.
Of course. I did want to point out this Japanese cheesecake here because it is a big trend right now.
Ooh,
So whoever pinned this last year did a good job because I've
ahead of it.
Yeah, they were way
Ahead of the
ahead of the
trend.
curve. I feel like I just read a Refinery 29 article about it a couple weeks ago. It's just it's hitting the mainstream now. So if you can find the next Japanese cheesecake, you could be in some luck. And another thing that I wanted to point out for this is that be specific if you're a food blogger. Be specific on what it is. So this person could have just said it's vegan ice cream. They said it's vegan and dairy-free strawberry ice cream. There's a lot of really good keywords in there.
Yep. And my fiance's dairy-free, lactose intolerant, right? So most of the ice cream she ends up eating is vegan. Not always, but that's a great way to pull in two different audiences there as well.
Oh yeah, and if it's easy, say that. If it's kid-friendly, say that. If it's vegan, but it's also paleo, it's also keto, it's also Whole30, put all of those things in there so you can draw in every type of diet.
Yep. I just want to say real quick, if you scroll down a bit, another berry pin. Also, I really want to make those strawberry roses. I was talking to Emily, which some of you might know her if you've written into Tailwind with a question, but oh my god, cheesecake's my favorite food, so I think I'm gonna go home and make a Japanese cheesecake and then make strawberry roses, decorate it around the edge, put one in the center. I've already thought it out.
Then you'll have to take pictures so we can put it on Facebook to show everyone. Yeah, so again, we have these bright colors. It seems like the color theme for this month is blue, orange, yellow.
It almost feels really summery.
It really does.
Yeah, a lot of these dishes. Yeah, those peach wine slushies, the lemonades, all the berries.
Yeah. Everything looks so delicious, and
all the ice cream.
All the ice cream. Yeah, you probably don't want to eat ice cream in the middle of January, so I get that that's becoming a bigger trend now. And please feel free to write in with any questions, comments, anything. We love to see them. It's sort of sitting right to our side here, so they're coming in at us.
Yeah, we'll catch them.
All right, next up is the holiday and events board.
Yeah, so right off, we see two holidays. We see Easter there, and you just scroll past it, but right above it was
patriotic
4th of July, or as was it Kim Veej, I think, mentioned earlier, Memorial Day. So.
Oh, Tracy has a good observation here. Don't forget Cinco de Mayo for food pins.
Completely forgot about that, right?
Yeah.
So we saw those baked taco shells. We saw a couple of things that would have absolutely fit for that.
Yes, definitely.
Very, very good point. I did not even think about that.
Yeah. But there are fewer holiday-specific pins in here because it is kind of an odd time of year. I had the very brave observation and projection that we would see less of it, and I was wrong for a long time. But now I'm finally right.
Well, I know I did actually watch the I caught last month what to pin on Pinterest when you guys did that. I remember there was a lot of Easter stuff in March, so it's definitely kind of tapered off here this month in April. There are a few things in here, but yeah, definitely seeing a lot more patriotic stuff. Another thing I saw a lot of was graduation.
Yeah.
Lots of graduation stuff in here. Lots of birthday party stuff that could, I'm sure there's always a lot of birthday party stuff and holiday and events. People have birthdays year round.
Right.
Got some early Mother's Day there, it looks like.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's under floral birthday party ideas. So even though it says mom on here, I guess you could replace that with someone's name.
Yeah, it's a twofer pin.
Yeah, definitely. And they're really, I think the most pins for a specific event in here is actually Christmas or wintry. And
there are a few, yeah.
I think that really suggests that people are preparing for it so much earlier.
Well, people, Christmas is such an important holiday to so many people that they're gonna always have that Christmas board. It's not like it's like a graduation board that you would have once, probably, maybe twice, and any time they find a good idea, like a great idea like that palette one, they got a board there, they can share it to it immediately.
Yeah, and it's going to be relevant in the next a couple months, and
basically, right? Christmas starts in, I think, July now or August.
Right.
So
yeah, so people start thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it sounds crazy, but you can pin Christmas year round.
yeah, you really can.
And still get really good traction.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed that there's so much pink.
Yeah,
And
and I think that's the spring.
I agree.
Easter, that we're
Easter,
seeing here.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yep.
You know, different wedding showers, baby showers,
Mhm.
things like that. Those
Mhm.
are going to be more pastel, more pink, a little softer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were multiple baby shower pins in here
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah, and a lot of the baby shower, bridal shower, but also outdoorsy.
Mm-hmm.
People are going outside now because the weather's getting nicer. Unless you live in Oklahoma.
Unless we live in Oklahoma, we're still dodging tornadoes for about a month.
Of course, yeah. And all right, so I'm going to click through on one of these because I want to show you guys an example of an absolutely incredible party account. Of course, now I can't find the one I was going to click on. There we go. Oops. Okay.
Oh, was it?
Catch
There we
My
go.
Party.
Catch My Party.
I think I bring them up every single time we do one of these, but there's a good reason for that. So if we click through, they have more than 500,000 followers. They have all of these really amazing keywords in here.
Mm-hmm.
They have a seasonal party idea listed up top, multiples of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come down here and the boards are organized by what is popular right now.
Yep. So
It's
Easter
genius.
party ideas right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys.
Moana, that's super smart because she's jumping on that trend.
Yeah, if you guys weren't here, or if you didn't already know this, but if you weren't here for last month, I know they talked about this, but it's so easy now to just rearrange your boards on Pinterest, and you can just click, drag a board, drop it up top. So if you guys do have Easter boards, if you guys do have 4th of July boards, Mother's Day boards, anything like that,
Right.
drag those up top.
Yeah.
Get eyeballs on them front and center because people are thinking about those. Or if they're not thinking about them yet, as soon as they see them, they'll be like, "Oh, right, Mother's Day," like most of us do. And,
Or put it as your featured boards up here.
yeah,
So
throw it in
people
your
can
feature boards
easily
right
click
there.
through.
Yeah,
And I
do both.
also, in the comments, shared a link to our case study with Jillian from Catch My Party, so you can learn more about how she has this just absolutely incredible growth, an amazing account, and how she sort of thinks about these things. Julie asks if it froze or was it my computer. So if anyone else is having issues, please let us know, and we'll try to re-jump things. But looks like Emily's still got it. Kim says Jillian and her site rocks with all of her community and sharing party ideas. Totally agree. Love Jillian. Think she's absolutely genius
super
at
awesome.
Pinterest.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and so if you want to check out that case study, David did a great job on it. So just click through on that comment there. Okay, next up is travel.
Travel.
And I know we have a lot of travel bloggers that like to see if there's any sort of trends that are happening. And the beautiful thing, and also the somewhat frustrating thing for us putting on this event, is that there's not a lot of travel trends. There
Right.
a little bit.
A little bit. So, like, traveling with kids is definitely
Yes.
something we saw in here, which makes sense, right? We just had spring break. It kind of varies a little bit for people. Some people are maybe just now having their spring break this week, depending on where they're at in the country. But a lot of people went to Disneyland, right? And then they made their pins, and then they got the post out the next month in April. So we saw, I think I saw a handful of Disneyland pins in here. I don't think we called it out, but on the previous board we just looked at, we actually had some Disney pins there in the holiday events, some kind
And
of
Harry
Disney themed
Potter.
parties. And Harry Potter, which is, let's see, it's a Universal Studios Harry Potter thing.
Oh, this is in UK. People are getting real crazy. But here's the Wizarding World.
There's 2 Harry Potters, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something that people are going to be looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, lots of kids stuff in here.
Lots of kid stuff and lots
Family
of
travel.
niche specific.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are looking for a Harry Potter type of vacation, they're going to be able to find this really easily because those keywords are right up top. And also best cooking classes in Paris. That sounds like a great thing. And if you are someone that's really into cooking and wants to go learn from the best pastry chefs in France, that would be a pin that you would look for. And also, some of these you don't have the text overlays on.
Yep, just these, travel wanderlust pins
Yes.
that are just, incredibly beautiful pictures. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these people who pinned them, these were actually, taken by somebody else. But, one thing you always see these pins getting obscene amounts of repins. People love to just, wish they were somewhere else or use these pins as inspiration for where they might want to go. And I always think that's a very, whether it's 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 of your pins every day, I'll always try and work in a couple of pins like these because they always do absolutely fantastic.
They do. And I personally feel like they may not get the click-throughs that 10 Things to Know Before You Travel to Morocco would get, but it's still something to draw people in. Yeah.
Right.
And
it's the engagement that you'll get.
I was looking for, one like this. That's a really neat photo of Atlanta at night. Really simple text overlay that fits in with the image really well.
Yep.
So the biggest thing I would impress on travel bloggers is use beautiful photography, use high quality photos, and sort of draw people into your site. So it's whether you're using the overlay or the description, do it.
Yep. A lot of these are lists too, right? So one thing that does just really well in travel in general are tip-based posts. So a lot of, 10 things not to do when you visit China for the first time, or 15 things you must do when you visit China, right? So a lot of stuff like that does really, I probably see 2 types of pins more than anything in the travel category. I see number and then a series of words. Right? So usually a list of some sort, which we see a couple right here. And then, like those travel wanderlust type photos are just really, really beautiful scenery. So it's those lists that are going to get your clicks, right? Because I don't want to call it clickbait because it's not, but that's sort of literally what it's doing. Right. It's hey, here you got a great list of really helpful tips and information here. You got to click through to get it, and then you've got these just beautiful travel photos that'll grab people's attention, get them looking at your account, getting them engaged in your account, and then hopefully discovering some of those lists that you've created. And
really, it's only clickbait if people don't find what you're pinning to be valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll remember that too. So if you're going to say 20 things to know before you travel to Morocco, and the top 10 are bring a jacket, then you're probably not going to. Yep. People are not going to want to click through on your pins again. See, Marie says, I heart Pinterest, hoping to get ideas on great pin ideas or ways to boost my home-based business. Marie, it'd be great to hear what your home-based business is. Maybe we could have some tips for you.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the wedding category.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
This is a category that a lot of people will just have one board for and then they're done. Or they'll have one board for 15 years and eventually come back to it. But it's a really incredible category because it encapsulates so much. There's
this
everything.
Is like food, fashion, DIY. There's a lot of different pins in here. Could go in multiple categories. We just mentioned this in I forget which category we're just at, but there's a lot of cross category pins in here, which if you all using Tailwind, hopefully you know how to just add multiple boards to a pin and then drop an interval on it and spread it out right. So a lot of these pins could very well just be going into your DIY boards and then going into your wedding board or going into your food board and then going over here, and there's a lot of examples of this in here.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. So it's for those wedding planners, those venues, those cake designers. There's so much to work with. But one of the big trends that sort of popped out to me, there's a little bit of bright colors, but mostly it's softer. There's a lot of white space. A lot of one specific focal point. Yeah,
absolutely. There's I don't know. Sorry, my brain just imploded and it's reforming right now. Sorry.
Too much girly.
There's a lot of girly in here. Except there's that beer bar right here. There's a second beer bar here. Both those, as a male, caught my eye.
The mirrors and stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
don't forget to pin for men here as well.
And this is something that should look like a dream.
Yep.
This,
A lot of these pins look very like dreamlike and like fantasy weddings almost, like they're happening in a little fairy garden. And
Right. Yeah. And even some of the ones that are in, this one looks like it was taken at a wedding.
you know what? Actually,
There's still a soft light to it.
these all look really rustic. Like there's a lot of wood in here. Like
A lot of flower crowns.
yeah.
Yeah. That's been a big trend for a few years.
Has it?
On Pinterest, yes.
I should know this. I've been engaged for a minute.
So Julie asks, for product-based businesses, do you recommend pinning your products more informational pins like blog posts?
Product-based businesses.
I think a mix.
Yeah, you're going to want to mix. So when pinning product pins, one thing you want to try to avoid is just pinning like the product on a white background and calling it a day. I mean, depending on the size of your operation and things like that, that may just be difficult, and having some pins like that is fine. But really, when it comes to product pins, if you can show the product in use, that's always great. So like one thing I think we're doing, we haven't done women's fashion yet. We're going to be looking at it here in a second. But one thing you'll see is you never just see a picture of a dress. You see a picture of a dress on somebody walking around town, or you see a picture of a dress matched with items that are complementary to it, right? So I would say, if it's feasible for you, if you have the budget, if you have the photography skills or the budget to hire a photographer to make really, really strong product pins, you can definitely go product pin heavy. If it's not feasible for you right now at the stage of your business to create really strong, really eye-catching product pins, definitely lean more into those informational posts, because it's probably going to be a little bit lower cost for you to create. Maybe a lower skill barrier for there if you don't have the photography skills and equipment to get just great product photos. Definitely lean into those. There's sort of four different purposes, right? Also, product pins are generally there for people who are ready to buy or want to buy soon. Informational posts can be really, really great for priming your audience to purchase something like that you have, right? So if you I'm trying to think of a good example of that, but if you sell I don't know, like
if you sell engagement rings.
If you sell engagement rings, you might, I don't know. I don't even know what an informational post for that, but if you sell vintage goods, like you could have an informational post on like 10 things you should buy used and 10 things you should never buy used, or something like that, because you're selling secondhand goods. That would be a good informational blog post for that. Like I said, weddings not my thing yet. I'm trying to have one of those, and we'll come back to that later. And maybe I'd have a great example for these wedding rings.
Yeah, after your wedding, you can come back and
I'll be an expert.
talk all about it. And another thing that I wanted to point out with the products is with Pinterest Lens, it's actually pretty important to have product shots on there, because when you do use the lens, it's just, I took a lens image of my shoes earlier, and it just pulled up product shots. There was nothing else.
That's a good point. Yeah, they're going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Pinterest starts leaning more into those sorts of features, helping people discover items that they love, like more things like that. I mean, that's obviously what they're doing now already, but that visual aspect of just being able to take a picture of something in a window from a sidewalk in New York City and keep going throughout your day, and just have a slew of pictures on your phone so you can keep walking past it and looking at things like that, right? I think there are a lot of really interesting use cases like that, and that's a great point. I mean, that's where product photos will really shine with tools like that on Pinterest.
So we do have a few more comments and questions, but I'm just going to get through this wedding board before we jump on over to answer those.
Okay.
And so one more thing that I wanted to point out is that brides are coming to Pinterest to plan their dream wedding. And so it's good to have sort of thematically related pins.
Right.
So that people are coming and saying, oh, I want to have a blush pink and gold wedding. And then you can have maybe even a board themed around that.
Yep.
So that if you're in the wedding business, that is a huge thing that you can do to really drive people to your Pinterest. And here's another.
That was the other one I was talking about, right? The other drinking pin.
Interesting, it's in the the wedding category.
Home bar gifts for men. Yeah.
Didn't say anything about weddings, but again, you can use that anywhere.
You can use that on a couple different boards, like we were
Yeah.
saying earlier. There were several pins like that. These tin can lanterns don't need to be for weddings, but I bet they look cute in weddings.
I'm sure. Okay, so we're going to come on over to our questions and comments. And so Marie wrote back to us and says, haha, I have a few businesses. She has Avon, Melicula, Organo, I'm sorry if I'm completely butchering these, and also my husband and mine's deep sea fishing business. I'm kind of all over the board. Is there a way to incorporate them all to one Pinterest, or should I have 2 Pinterest accounts? One for the deep sea fishing and one for the other 3 businesses, which are based around products.
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
So for those first 3, I recognize Avon. Are you familiar with the other 2?
I'm not. That's why I butchered the names.
And so I don't know if those are similar to Avon, if you're reselling products. If so, then you could absolutely, if those other 2 brands are like Avon, you could probably merge those, right? And you could really you might be able to, if they're similar enough, kind of work them all into one cohesive brand. Especially if you think this sort of the same audience is going to be there for each one of them. If you think they're going to have different audiences, I wouldn't recommend combining them.
Yeah.
It's just going to make it a lot harder for you to curate pins for 3 different audiences and keep people interested, right? Like you may be able to hit Avon with some content, but then if 2/3 of everything else you're pinning just doesn't really speak to them or to that audience, you'll probably lose the follow at some point, or maybe not get it in the first place if they browse through your boards and just don't really see why they would want to follow you outside of maybe just one or these couple of boards that you have. Absolutely, I would separate deep sea fishing out from beauty products if that's what the others are. That's a really interesting business, and you might be able to pull in like some honestly like travel adventure type people who would be really, really interested in that as well, just in terms of garnering engagement and things like that, depending on the content you build out there. I would definitely separate those into at least 2.
Yeah, I agree completely. But with that said, one of the beautiful things, as long as those products are related, is Pinterest allows you to have different facets to your business. So that you can create the boards with the specific keyboards, so you can get found, so you can have some place to pin. But yeah, beauty and deep sea fishing might be too different.
Right.
Might be too big of a difference there. All right, and so Kim has a great comment here. You can reach out to 2 successful bloggers who style like you and help you build product photos. Many do create product photos for you and even blog posts. So that's great if you want to partner with someone who's in a similar field to get that content created for both of you.
Yeah, and I've heard of a lot of people doing this, like finding a few different bloggers out there, working with a few of them to create product photos. What that gives you the chance to do is actually test to see kind of what's resonating with your audience. And from there, you can, of course, emulate their style and emulate whatever works for your account and create more product pins that'll ultimately drive more traffic for you once you've got a proven layout.
And Kelly asks, I'm working for an online fitness and loungewear brand focusing on US-UK market. Will we have any tips for that industry? We will have, our next board is the fashion category, which is, somewhat related. But if you go to the blog post that's listed under, at the top, underneath what we're doing today, then you can click through and go to the fitness page and see what was trending for that area last April. And then Alan says, I'm in a personal finance niche. Any idea what's trending this April? What immediately came to mind was taxes.
Taxes. Yep.
Taxes.
I did those.
And it seems like there's a lot of freelancers or solopreneurs or small businesses on Pinterest. And so helping with taxes there, it's terrifying.
Yeah. Big solopreneur crowd. Taxes are super hard for that audience. That's a great point.
And Kim says, Lens is going to be a big game changer with products. I agree.
Yeah.
Agree completely.
That was a great point Melissa brought up earlier.
Yeah, and so that's I feel like that will kind of change the way product photos are taken. Melissa says, it's easy to see themed wedding boards. Color combinations are great for that. Said, absolutely. And then another Melissa, there's so many of us today, says, I am in the alcohol/copper mug niche. I have started to really work on a wedding board and copper home decor. Anything else you could recommend? I feel like there's a lot of things there. So there's not just the wedding and home decor, but you could also do some DIY with it.
There's some DIY you could put together with that. There's
food.
Yep.
Food and beverages.
Food, holiday and event type things, right? There's like a lot of party ideas around those. Weddings obviously like a type of party as well, but you don't have to stop at weddings. Like alcohol and copper mugs, like Father's Day also comes to mind.
True. Very true.
I think there's absolutely a lot you could do there. I don't know. There's a lot. I like mugs and I like alcohol. And I feel like there's a lot of other people out there that like drinking alcohol out of mugs. Like there's definitely probably a lot you could do if you get creative.
Moscow mules are great.
Yeah.
Just make a whole board full of different kinds of Moscow mules. It'll be fine. Okay, and then Logan asks, do you think it's a good idea to post a PDF to Pinterest about my carpentry/handyman business as a lead magnet? I think that would be a good idea, as long as you can create a pin that is eye-catching, that provides value, and that people will want to click on. And then you could even use promoted pins to help get it in front of the right people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've done that specifically, but we've definitely done that with similar pieces of content before, right? Like ebooks or educational downloads or various things. So yeah, like if you can create a strong pin for it. Yeah, like
do it.
Drive traffic there.
Yeah.
Drive traffic to that PDF, get downloads for it.
Yeah, and Pinterest promoted pins are really a pretty cheap source of traffic, so it's definitely worth testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Put $20, $10, $50 into it. Something you can afford, and just see what happens. If it's your first time, play around, experiment.
All right, well, thanks, guys, for all these comments. It's always fun to answer those questions, but we're going to get back to it. And please drop more in there so we can answer them after we go through this last board, which I know is going to be Kevin's favorite.
There's one thing I love. It's women's fashion.
Women's fashion is one of those categories that does have a trend to it, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, so...
Spring trendy outfits.
Yep.
Yeah. People walking around in springtime. Things like that. And it's also, it's interesting because a lot of these, they're wearing sunglasses, so it's covering their face a little bit. She's looking away. You can't really see her face. Her head is completely cut off. Oh. Her head's cut off. And I think that's because people want to see themselves in these clothes.
Yep. Absolutely. That's definitely something you see on Pinterest is people cutting the heads off, cutting the faces out, turning them around like you see there on the left. There are exceptions to that, right? Like we are going to see some faces in here,
yes.
But that's generally the case.
It's not the most face we see.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of swimsuits on here as well. Probably a little early for that, but it never hurts to be a little early on Pinterest. I think the other thing you'll notice in all of these pins, and I mentioned it a moment ago, there's really two ways to present fashion on Pinterest. One is, have it on a model, have them walking around, have them actually using the product, right? Living it in the real world. The other way you do it, this is great if you're like a fashion blogger who also, designs her own jewelry or whatever, and you're selling that. Show it in combination with other items if you can. So, right, like models can be expensive or photographers can be expensive, but this is a great product photo here. You could have just done a pin with the hoodie, a pin with the earrings, a pin with the shoes, all on white backgrounds. That's not nearly as strong as combining all these into one and creating a pin out of it. It's a much more like aspirational pin, much more appropriate for Pinterest because you see a whole outfit that can drive you to want to pin that or go after those items in it,
or this is one that's could be cross platform or cross category too. What to pack when you're going to Europe. and it's a bunch of cute clothes that all go together.
Mm-hmm.
So putting out outfit ideas like that is really good at driving people to click through too.
Yeah.
This pin in particular, I have seen so much. So much. And I think that speaks to Pinterest. The clothing is less trendy, and it's more classic pieces that can stand the test of time. I haven't clicked through on all of these, but I know we've had ones in the past that are from like 2013 that are still driving people to repin them and get the click-throughs on it.
Right. Yeah, that's how Pinterest works, right? Like evergreen pins they're going to work for you forever. Not that you shouldn't get in on fads, right? Like feathery hair extensions. That was a thing a couple years ago. I don't know if it's still a thing, but
or the ombre hair. I feel like that was absolutely huge when I was leaving college, and now it's sort of died down a little bit.
Yeah.
But another thing to point out that is, if you are a fashion blogger, it's good to have this sort of something that you can jump into, something that people can be. So I know plus size is big, cutting off people's heads is big, having really wearable pieces, because everyone wants to feel beautiful, and it doesn't matter, what size you are, what your style is. Pinterest is a place that you can come and feel like you can obtain that because of the types of pins that are on there and that are going viral. And so as a fashion blogger, it's really important to keep that in mind.
Yeah. So Stephanie Moore says, I've been told that Pinterest doesn't like faces and pins. I don't know if Pinterest has an opinion on faces and pins. I bet it's more that over time, users have told Pinterest that their favorite pins tend to not have faces in them.
Right. Yeah.
It's probably what we're seeing here.
I think so. And that's particularly true for fashion or products, I think, because some of the ones about kids or the ones about families, those do have faces, because you have the happy, smiley children, and you want your children to be happy and smiley.
Right.
And although we have all of these pins in real life situations, with Pinterest Lens, you're going to want to have ones more like this too, so that they will get they will get discovered in the Lens product and be brought up, and people can purchase and click through.
Right. Yeah. Lens may not pick up those sunglasses she's wearing there on the left in a photo like that.
Although we do have the let's see if it'll work.
Oh, right. Maybe it will.
Okay, I just want these
Experiment.
sunglasses. Yeah, we're experimenting live here. Look at
Boom!
that. Pops right up. Okay. So with Lens, you will want to have product shots, but with visually similar products, I could even, let's see, I can click in and look at her purse here and find it.
Well, that one might have...
Okay, I took it a step too far.
Yeah, should have stopped while you were ahead there, Melissa.
Should have stopped while I was ahead.
But, hey, you know what? You made our point the second time there.
Yeah. So you want to have both. You
Right.
definitely want to have both. Otherwise, your purse may end up looking like a plastic bag.
Right.
Not great. Let's see. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to drop them in here. We're wrapping up now, but I'm happy to answer them after the fact. And it looks like Logan says, are you still running this through 22 Social? I'm not sure what 22 Social is, but I use a product called Open Broadcast System to run our Facebook Live events, and it's free, easy to use. I highly recommend it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Make sure to check out the blog post. And again, please feel free to drop any more questions, comments, anything in the comments here, and we'll get back to you. See you next time.
Toodaloo.